Hello, ladies and gentlemen of League Zero. I am Dividing by Zero here, hosting this week's episode of The Countdown, our little League Zero podcast thing. And I am joined by three great guests. I am here with Agreed, the main tank player from... If you'd let me finish my sentence, I'm here with Agreed, the main tank player from the Hangzhou Bark. That's when you say hello or something.
Oh, hi, I'm Agreed.
Yeah, I was wondering, should we be like clapping here?
You usually
was the applause?
Yeah, it's Agreed! It's Agreed, everybody!
Agreedjuggler!
There we go.
Yeah, okay, there we go. We also have a coach here from Bot Burgers, Hamop347, or as he'll be calling him at this point, Ham.
Yep. How's it going?
Yeah, we gave Agreed a round of applause. We'll give everyone else a round of applause. And finally, we have the main tank player and newly appointed captain of Double Cap, KingGenius. KingGenius!
Boo! Boo!
Okay, that's just rude.
Toxic.
Okay, so before we really get into this this episode, I wanted to quickly just check in with all three of you guys, because all three of your teams had a very good week this week. Obviously, you all won. Hangzhou and Bot Burgers, you both got your first wins of the season, and KingGenius, you guys took a win today, and yesterday, and were able to take away the second place spot in Novice from One Trick Wonders. So I just wanted to quickly check in with you guys and see, how you guys are all feeling after last week's games.
Yeah.
That's pretty epic, to be honest.
Whoever wants to go, just a little statement.
I guess Agreed. You start first. You have the letter A in your name.
Okay, so what do I have to talk about?
I just want talk about how you feel after getting your first one.
After getting my first win, I think it's more of like a thing of hell yeah, we finally fucking proved ourselves. It was like a long time, because we were always like a little bit closer than people would think, and then we finally edged it out a little bit this time, and now people are just calling Easy Clap bad and that's still bad, so it's still nothing's changed.
All right, Hamop, go ahead.
Yeah, so a lot of the same sentiment over here in the Bot Burgers kitchen, if you want to say that term. Yeah, I think there was a very strong drive for everyone, both players and managers, and coaching staff, all that. We all knew that we had it in ourselves. We actually had to come together and kind of hone our focus properly to actually show the people in this league what we're made of.
All right, and King?
Yeah, so... originally we were put down at the very bottom of the power rankings, but I had you third.
Yeah,
you were the one that knew what was up, and I think last week we really got to show that. We're super pumped for this week, and then next week also getting to play against Pepega, who's at the top. So that'll be fun.
Awesome. All right, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and go into our Week 3 recap. We'll start off with the Advanced Division, where, first of all, let's just get the sore thumb out of the way first. We had Z9 defeating Noot 4-0, but that 4-0 was due to a forfeit on the side of Noot. They were not able to get enough players to field a full team. So, if anyone has any comments on that, or we could just leave it at that.
It's unfortunate.
I think it was more, I think, like, a lot of the time, never mind. I have nothing in my mind. I'm sorry, I'm kind of I can't say that.
I was just going to say, it's always unfortunate whenever a team has to forfeit, no matter whether it's just a casual scrim or a pug, or if it is something more organized, because a lot of folks, we're not here for the non-existent prize money. We're here to have fun, to learn a thing or two, and, just play some good Overwatch. So it's always sad.
It's really unfortunate that happened, and our team Double Cap was actually really concerned that Rio was going to have to do that, because they had a disconnect halfway through King's Row.
Yeah.
And as much as you want the win, we really, really wanted to have like a fair, full match.
Okay, and then next we have Chengdu Shads versus Crest. Crest took that victory 4-0. We had, I think, personally, I mean, obviously Crest, we all know at this point. I think most people would agree that Crest is one of the top 2 teams in Advanced, and it's kind of like Crest, Z9, and then a big gap before 3rd place. And also, I think, sorry, Agreed, if you want to say something.
I think that is kind of true, but I think mostly the reason that Crest is getting better and better is more like the players are listening and the coaches are actually coaching, whereas some teams in Advanced don't even have coaches, and it's just a big divide between different teams, different styles, it just kind of all wraps together in Advanced if you have that resource to keep that resource what is it called? To improve. But if you don't have that, you're just kind of stuck at a standstill of how do I improve myself if nobody else will help me.
And I think you also have to keep in mind when talking about the Chads this week is that they were in a very tough position when it came to their roster. Like Melon ended up getting suspended and then dropped entirely. You had like a bunch of people. I don't think they had a single one of their traditional Lucio players to show up, so they had Bubbles, so I do not believe has Lucio as his main role playing Lucio, and they also had to get an emergency sub, Tedison, who played main tank for them that day. So
Which was, he was kind of kind of subpar to what I've heard in Pugs, in my opinion. He was just kind of a subpar main thing.
I think it was pretty weak on all points from Chengdu Chads, but I also feel like you have to keep in mind that they were not at all in their ideal position going into that game. So I don't think you can put all the blame on Ted.
Yeah, no, of course not.
Especially like you were saying, when you bring in someone, especially in a meta such as Goats, which relies so much on that Lucio and the Lucio's coordination with the rest of their team,
and then you have Bubbles on it.
Yeah, but like just not having someone who's familiar with how the team plays in that role can make a major difference, even amongst top teams.
Yeah, it kind of sucks when you have Bubbles as your Lucio, and all you can hear is Monkey Man Speed. It's not very fun.
Alright, and then finally for Advanced Division, we have the Hangzhou Bark with their first win of the season, 3-1ing Easy Clap. So, Agreed, you already talked a little bit about it, but I do want to ask you before, like, what was your team's mentality going into this game, and how did you approach taking down Easy Clap?
In my experience, what we did was we thought, we're fucked, aren't we? And then we went in. And we were just thinking, okay, we can do this. And we kind of all knew inside that maybe we can't do this. We always had that dread of thinking we're gonna fail, blah blah that. But then we went in and we played the first map. We lost the first map, but we kind of learned something. Our 2-2-2 can beat their goat, their triple, and their 2-2-2. And we thought, I know we haven't practiced this strat anywhere else, but let's just try to run it for the rest of the game and see how it works.
It worked.
Mm-hmm.
You took the 3 minutes.
And the reason why was, I'm not gonna harp it on me and ecology, but I think the way that we went about taking out the goats was a little bit like more niche than most people would think. Like, cause I thought like what I did as Winston was I went in, just fed a bit, got my ecology's nano up, and then I would go in and cleave and get a support. It sounds simple, but then Primal is not able to do anything against a goat. Technically, goats, if it's like unless you're Dotes or something, it's not gonna do much. So I kind of wasted my Primal sometimes just to give Ultra to ecology. He would nano me, and then we would go in and blah blah. Cycle continues, and we would just take out their supports every time without fault, and they couldn't do anything about it.
Gotcha. All right, so with that. Great, actually, quite good analysis by Agreed on how they took down Easy Clap's Goats. Other teams, maybe taking some notes there. But we'll go ahead and move on to the Novice Division now. We'll start off with the Bot Burgers, who are in a very similar situation as the Bark, with a 3-1 over Platchat to get their first win of the season. Ham, if you'd like to say a few words about that.
Yeah, sure. It's kind of like what I was mentioning earlier. Each of these players, when you have people coming together, most of the players on Bot Burgers don't really have experience in a team environment. So even though they might individually have a pretty good level of skill, that can't really compete when you're going up against teams that are pre-formed or at the very least have seeds from very experienced very experienced players on just a team in general. So there was definitely a little bit of growing pains when we were getting used to how exactly this works.
Mm-hmm. And then we move on to Rio Redemption versus Double Cap. Double Cap took that win 3-1. KingGenius, if you want to say a little bit about how Double Cap prepared going into that game.
Yeah, so we knew that our chance to prove that we weren't a super, super low joke team was beating Rio, because we had beat bots, but everybody had kind of already expected it. But nobody was really expecting the Rio pull. Everybody was expecting, they've got better tanks, they have supports that are more cohesive with the tanks, so they're going to win it. And we spent a lot of time doing VOD reviews of a bunch of their previous maps the week before when they played against Pepega and got 4-0'd. And so we used a lot of what we learned there, and it just became more and more implemented as the maps went on. And they started to try and out-brain us rather than instead of using mechanics to out-mechanic us. And so we just kind of returned the favor and started to outbraining it, hence bunker on Gibraltar.
Just brain, Fivehead.
Yeah.
Just brain. And then the final game of Week 3 was One Trick Wonders versus Pepega Friends, kind of billed as a Clash of Titans a little bit, as they were at the time the top two teams in Novice. And Pepega Friends took the win 3-1.
Obviously, One Trick Wonders is kind of bad.
One Trick Wonders are alright.
In my opinion, Arrow is kind of a weak link to me. That could be wrong.
Really?
But
you don't have to keep going on that, but if you could, because Arrow has been billed as a bit of the stronger points. I think mostly because people know that he was the first draft pick, so there has to be something about it, right?
Yeah, I think he's all right, but I think other main tanks just kind of outclass him by a lot. I think Warner's one of the better main tanks in the league, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Warner, I haven't seen many games, to be honest. I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you had watched, because actually, One Trick Wonders did something very interesting. Is that I think for the first time ever, they actually swapped out Arrow for a map in favor of another main tank, Ace Flash. And I was wondering,
Ace Flash good?
Well, they lost that map, but they also lost the next two maps that he was in. So. Yeah,
I guess it really do be like that sometimes. But I think
it's always,
in my opinion, two noticeable main tanks right now are Kai and Warner. I think to watch out for those two. But I don't want to direct it from Bot Burgers, because they all pulled it through. It wasn't just Kai. Yeah. Kai had support from his team. Kai had a lot of resources given to him. The only reason they kind of took advantage is because Aunt Jemima's kind of a bot on Ryan and cannot block or shatter for his life. Can even hold shield, to be honest.
Well, and like I said, it also kind of comes to the point of, a lot of these players playing on the ladder versus playing with an actual team. When you're playing with a team, you have certain things you expect from your teammates. So maybe you're expecting that bubble from your Zarya. Maybe you're expecting the Brig to be a little closer to you versus further away. And with all of them kind of playing like the I'm on the ladder mentality, it just becomes a lot more difficult to actually have coordinated efforts until they get over that initial sort of thought.
But I think we can all agree Tanic is a bot.
I think when it comes to One Trick, the strength with them, at least from what I've experienced, me being the main tank of Novice that I think that I am, the Arrow is one of the only other main tanks that really, I feel, pushes me. His supports, however, I think need to be able to keep up with him more, because currently, they get left in the dust, and I think that's why they start to find more success with multi-DPS comps, because that just is a solo healer, and so you don't have to keep track of as many.
Yeah, I think we all remember the reverse sweep of Silver Star. That guy's a crazy Ash.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, you got to give some props to the Paper Friends because they actually tried to go Ash several times, and they did a very good job of shutting him down, as well as Schaffler on the Pharah. Or no, it's not Schaffler. It was shoot, I forget the name. It's an S name.
Yeah, I really should have went into this watching all the novice games.
It's yeah.
Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know
Shifting.
who
Yes,
Schaffler
it's
is.
shifting. My bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even know who Schaffler is. I think I only watched the Plaid Chat versus Bob Burger's game, reason being that Madden overcasting. By the way, bringing that up, the casting is kind of lackluster because they just kind of call out things. If you get what I mean.
I
They kinda just
mean,
call out-
I think you should
better.
know that people volunteer to cast. We don't like seek them out and do applications. You know,
I think,
it's
but
like
you should at
it's
least.
like
I think
people are volunteering to do this, and they're no means professionals.
If
I
you
know, but,
watch
like, you
the,
should like try to train them up. Like I feel like it should like this might sound cringy, but I think that it should like maybe be more punny, be more funny. Like just like make it interactive and make it entertaining to watch. Because right now the casting is more boring and it's harder to watch because when you're watching Madanova, they're two very, very clashing people who do a really funny job and a really entertaining job observing and actually being good casters. Like, it's actually very entertaining to watch those two. Especially when they're clashing together, because their personalities are just really nice.
Alright, well, or no, I guess casters should take notes on that, but we'll go ahead and move on now to our player of the match for each match. As usual, the team's choice is the first player of the match, and then the secondary choice is the choices of the casters. So first, once again, we'll get it out of the way. Z9, they didn't really get a chance to play in their game, so they don't actually really have a player of the match this time. So nothing really to talk about there. So we'll just go ahead and move on to Crest, and they had Melting Core as their player of the match, as well as the secondary runner-up is Bufalafo.
Bufalafo.
Yeah, I know. It's just spell Buffalo, dude.
I don't know why he has his name is Bufalafo.
Okay, but still, this dude, you know, we'll talk about Molten Core in a second, but he's been touted to be probably the best flex support in League Zero at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Does anyone remember? I feel really bad. Does anyone remember what Melting plays exactly? Is he the Diva?
He's a Zarya.
He's the Zarya.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Quidel starts over him, but Melton's a Zarya player, I'm pretty sure. Either that or Break.
Or that or Brick. So he's a DPS player. Because, I mean, he must have played. Yeah, so I didn't really watch the Crest Chad's game. It's kind of so my apologies.
Yeah,
for that.
it was kind of just a clean sweep, nothing you could really watch there.
Yeah. But, obviously, two great plays here. And now we're going to go...
Yeah. This MVP is kind of like, he's a cool dude. I like him. He's a pretty cool MVP.
Really? Okay. Well, we'll see in a second because we'll move on to the Hangzhou Bark. The team's choice, they chose Ecology as their MVP.
Wait, hold up. Wait, what? Wait, what?
Oh, yeah, they chose Ecology.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, it says on the sheet that it's Ecology.
Get wrecked.
Are you serious?
I'm pretty serious. I mean, dude, I'm
Okay,
just reading the paper,
That's it.
okay?
I'm
literally just
I'm
reading
leaving.
what's in front of me.
I'm leaving Hangzhou Bark. Fuck this team. Are you fucking kidding me?
Okay. Consolation prize. You did get the runner-up from the casters, okay?
Oh, you fucking me. Wait, this is my fuck.
Were you actually expecting that you were the MVP?
Yeah, they all voted for me. What did you want for me?
I feel like we need a giant flash on the screen.
Agreed told me I got this. Agreed told me I got MVP.
It says Ecology on the paper.
Agreed,
I don't know.
Just a prank, bro.
Well, you know, it happens. If it was a misunderstanding, it was a misunderstanding. But you know, agreed. We'll just move on. We'll move on to the novice division as Botburgers was actually unanimous between the team and the casters. Kai, our player of the match there, and I think we've already talked a little bit about, well, first of all, I mean, we've talked a bit about how, his team, he had good support from his team, but, Ham, tell us about what Kai does for your team.
So one of the big jobs of a main tank is to set the tone and set the aggression for the rest of your team. If the main tank is out of sync with everyone else, then they're just considered feeding. But if they're leading the rest of their team properly and everyone else can match their aggression, that's when you start having these snowball effects that Goats is so well known for. So I think we really hit a nice sweet spot between Kai wanting to go forward and be aggressive and take those forward positions, and still have the the other supports or the main other tanks and the support line being able to keep him up and keep the fight together.
Awesome. So we'll move on to Double Cap now, which was Painless as the team's choice, and then KingGenius, you were the caster's choice as MVP for that game. But talk a little bit about Painless, and just like Ham did for Kai, what does Painless do for your team?
So Painless is the loudest feeder that has ever played Lucio, but he does it so well that it matches my bumper aggression and it matches McCree's tendency to just lead foot on W, that it all just works so well. There was a play on Hanamura specifically where the Rhine got nanoed, and so he booped Rhine down, and then waited at the other side of the stairs for the Rhine to walk all the way back up and booped him not twice but 3 times back down, wasting the nano. And so, he's big brain when he needs to be, and it was also his birthday, so we just, yeah.
Well, that was really nice of you.
Happy birthday to
the birthday magic, right?
Yeah. And so, finally, we'll go ahead and move to Pepega Friends. Their team's choice was Sebs, their diva player, and their caster's choice was it was between Schaffler and Magical. And I think the fact that the picks were so spread out among everyone shows a lot about, in my opinion, Pepega Friends. They didn't have a ton of super standout players, but I think they just as a team looked really, really good against One Trick Wonders last week. Just as a whole.
I think they're definitely a well-oiled machine that doesn't have a set star player.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you see this all the time. A team that can come together with fantastic teamwork, they don't necessarily need those sorts of carries. So, if you don't have a fantastic, a standout star, DPS or a support or a tank, you can focus on other areas and still be a very high-performing team.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pepega Friends, I think, are looking really, really good right now. But that will go ahead and do it for our Player of the Match segment. And now, we were going to move on to our guest segment. And this time around, we're actually not doing anything specifically about the guests. I'm personally really excited for this because with the conclusion of Week 3, what I like to think of as kind of the next phase of the league has begun, in which the free agency, the trading window, the signing window has opened up. So ever since the draft at the beginning, team rosters have been locked, but now teams have been able to, it's now opened up for teams to trade, to sign new people, and it's honestly really exciting to see what people are doing. We're going to go ahead, so I guess disclaimer here, we're going to talk about the moves that have happened, but this was recorded on Monday, it's probably going to go up on Wednesday, and I'm expecting a couple of things happen between now and then. So, just keep that in mind while you're watching this.
All I am expecting here is that, what's it called? That Jason gets benched, to be honest.
Fair enough.
To be honest, he kind of got boomed by a diamond. That's not very poggers, to be honest.
Not at all. And then, once we're done with that, we'll go through, some free agents that are free agents right now that we hope get on teams in the near future. So we're going to start off with the Novice Division, just go in alphabetical order. So starting off with Bot Burgers have actually done quite a bit in the in the free agencies, and just starting off, it seems like they definitely had a plan. They picked up Ranter, Average TV, a Deefy, and Sloth, I don't know. And Sloth. Yeah, Sloth, okay. There's an E at the end. English is weird. So, and then, of course...
You don't speak English?
No.
Oh, wow.
Moving on.
So now
we've been speaking Vietnamese.
Yeah, it's been a different language the whole time. You've been pranked. And then, of course, this wasn't on Monday, but fairly recently they did release Zoom. I believe just due to personal reasons on his part. So we'll just keep off of there. But Ham, if you want to talk a little bit about the 4 players that you did pick up and what you think they'll bring to the team.
Sure. So one of the things that when our manager Lich started out to build Bot Burgers, because I only became a coach just before week 1 actually, so I wasn't involved with the draft or any of even the really pre-week 1 scrims or trainings or anything. So the thing that he really wanted to do was build a team that's not so much stand out immediately, but it's more of a willing to be coached, willing to improve, and just all together want to get better and just experience a team environment. So if you wanted to make an analogy to more professional Overwatch, you could think maybe like Season 1 San Francisco Shock. They took a lot of chances on players who maybe weren't quite as heard of, or especially a lot of those who weren't 18 yet, but they wanted to kind of look forward into the future and see where they could make that team go. So we had a very similar thought when we were approaching free agency. And so we wanted to pick up a couple more supports, kind of flush out our support line, but then also just looking for overall solid picks that can kind of help lead our team in-game, who maybe have a little more of that experience on a team before, so that, it's just a more clear-cut person helping lead everyone in-game, who actually has experience doing that.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and move on to Double Cap now, who has actually kind of done the opposite. They've actually lost a lot of people. They ended up releasing Bob Ross, the former captain, and of course KingGenius has now taken his place. They also released Apple Chips and Zentro Stick, and then they've also lost Kizgo in a trade with Platchats for Pichu. So
I've actually heard a lot of good things about Peach.
The Pichu bomb has become a bit of a saying in the league, so it's quite interesting. So King, if you want to talk a little bit about why Double Cap has made the moves that they've made.
Yeah, so Bob kind of dropped out for personal reasons. Apple and Zentro both fit under the piece that it was kind of a mutual agreement. Originally, Double Cap was planning to do a very large 12-man roster, similar to what Soul Dynasty was doing, where you did 6 on Control and then 6 on everything else. But we quickly found that doesn't work well, hence Soul doesn't do very well. And so we started shifting towards a main 6, and we realized we have a lot of these players that are just kind of sitting around in our channel that totally deserve to go to teams, but they're not playing for us. And then Kiz, who is a super good diva. Me and him, we were on the same wavelength when it came to Shatter Bombs. We ended up trading him for Pichu for both internal reasons as well as few higher up management decisions that I'm not aware of. But I think it's all for the best. Both having Pichu away from Platchat, as they didn't use her very much, and now Kizgo can help improve the detriment that Platchat has sort of found itself in.
Currently in last place, unfortunately.
Yes.
One Trick Wonders, as of right now, have not made any moves. Pega Friends also made one move. They released Doc. I believe that was just inactivity kind of thing, so not much
he was AFK for a month.
Not much to really talk about there. We'll get the Platchats last because there's actually a few moves there. But first we'll go over to Rio, and they just got rid of Sumo Snorlax, who I also believe was AFK, and TNT. And I'm interested to know if anyone has any thoughts on the TNT drop. I just don't know much about it. If you all know anything, I
mean, Epsa's kind of been feeling as the big bot, and he doesn't play break, so it's kind of just a giggle.
So I think it's a combination of he doesn't fit the meta, the whole goats thing. He's an alright Zarya, but there's a lot of Zaryas that can just outclass him, and so you try to push him over to Brig, but there's a lot of other people that can Brig better than him, and so he's very good on DPS. It's a lack of flexibility, and additionally, the DPS that he is good at are super niche. Like his Doomfist, for instance, is not terrible by any standards, and so I remember in a private pug, we were trying to mold around his Doom, and when we managed to, it was super good. I remember his Pharah was also pretty good. Just being able to mold around these fits that you can't throw necessarily into a goats is something that if another team were to pick him up, they would definitely find success with.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was actually pretty surprised to see that notification come across that they were.
You're not
releasing him.
alone.
Yeah, because he was a player who played in every single one of Rio's matches, and I think even for every map. Don't quote me on that one. But just, and I was talking about this, earlier, and this is kind of one of my things. If a team has good coordination together, it doesn't necessarily mean that they all, have to be the best players or they have to all be playing the perfect heroes if they're all on the same page. So I'm very interested to see how they work with whoever they're going to choose to replace TNT. Just because, at least during match time, I don't know about the private scrims and practices, but at least for match time, he seemed to be a pretty important part to the team.
I think it's more of that, like, I don't really care. Stanley's kind of terrible, so they kind of just had to, like, run somebody else other than him, because they thought, Stanley would be decent. Like, they thought, what, it's novice, it won't be that bad. He kind of, was bad in Season 0, but they thought, he'll be decent here. He's still bad compared to novice standpoint, so they just kind of had to run TNT and have some.
Can I also point out TNT? He played May for a full 2.5 maps on our game with him last Sunday, and the casters pointed it out. But before then, he had a total of 4 hours on May, and he was doing really, really well. So, like, his ability to pick something up really fast is really, really good.
I honestly think that I don't think it would. I think, like, unless they get a huge pickup, like somebody who can be A class, there was no reason to get rid of TNT. Honestly, I would have just got rid of Stanley and got another DPS if we really needed it.
Fair enough. And now, well, finally, for the Novice Division, we'll move over to Plat Chats, and there's quite a bit to digest here. So we have, for Plat Chat, they picked up Pew Pew and Jeff Shitted, and then they dropped Golden Pants and Nope3, and then, of course, as mentioned before, the trade, they got Kizgo for Pichu. So if anyone has any comments on that, these players.
Yeah, so I guess I can start. Jeff is a main tank, and I know that Plat Chat has been talking a lot about how they don't really like the current path that their main tanks are taking. I was talking with Pichu, who was on Plat Chat before she joined Double Cap, and like the calls aren't really going anywhere. They have, I believe, Slam Jam as their current main tank player,
right.
And there's just not a lot that gets done. The shot calls are very lacking, and so from what we've heard. I think they're looking to hopefully train him up into being able to bring them back to being a good GOATS team. As well as the drop of Nope3. He was... I think the reason for the drop is both partially because his personality, he was just kind of toxic and not exactly the most positive. He'd tilt very easy. And additionally, his diva play was just not amazing, and now that they've picked up his go, they've really got a good diva on their hands.
Yeah, I totally agree with you with the pickup on Jeff. Certainly being a very good pickup. We actually, over at Bot Burgers, we had our eye on Jeff as well, just kind of seeing, obviously we already have Kai, but, we were trying to flush out our team a little bit, so that way if something does happen, because if you remember week 1, I think Kai wasn't even able to make it for us. But no, I think it was definitely a very solid pickup. I think Jeff will serve Plat Chat very well.
For sure. So we'll go ahead and move on to the Novice Division now. We'll start off by just saying, as of the recording of this video, the Chengdu Chads and Noot have not made any moves. I expect that to change in the near future because both of them are actively searching and or holding pugs. So If you are still looking for a team and are registered free agent, those are two very good places to start. So we'll go ahead and start off with Crest, who have made a little bit of a change at the main tank position. They have released McMatt, who was their backup main tank, the Shadow Dragon, and added on, I believe it's Swanky Mango. I know Mango's in his name somewhere. But I believe also a main tank. So just something to talk about right here. Who do you think starts on Crest now? Do you think it's Shadow Dragon or Mango?
I think Shadow's better than Mango, but that's my personal.
Yeah, I think it'll be Shadow still, unless they find in like an internal scrim a different opinion.
I think honestly, it was one of the worst pickups they could have had, in my opinion. Why do you need another main tank when you have Shadow, who shows up consistently and is mostly coachable? He has no problems with the team. He's rarely toxic. The biggest problem might be that you just want a short success, and you just want a higher SR main tank.
Something I want to point out is to both Chads and Noot. I've been watching a lot of the Advanced Division games. Matt would be a super good pickup because both Noot and Chads are missing they're missing a Chad main tank. They need someone that can just run in there with a smart wall pin or a fire strike that's hitting 6 and then back to holding shield, because right now it looks like Chads and Noot, their main tanks are good for sure, but they get caught up in their own success and then they get even more caught up in their own failures and they just don't pick themselves up fast enough. And Matt is a super good grab.
No, I mean the way you were talking about the other main tanks is exactly how Matt is. Matt is a very good main tank when he is not cocky and not really thinking about the other team, how bad they are. If he just concentrates on himself, he's great. If he concentrates and just starts like trash talking, you saw what happened in Z9 versus Flat Chat. You know how that went down. That was terrible. And Matt was talking big shit before it.
Yeah.
It was really bad. And he
does
that a lot.
For those of you who weren't around, is Season 0, the League 0 semifinals between Platchat and Z9. Matt was on Platchat, and they ended up getting reverse swept.
And if he just kept his ego down and just played the game, he would have done great. But I think, honestly, Noot is their main tank is fine. I think me and Dividing, you guys might not know, but Neglect is is an A tier main tank when he tries. Me and Dividing both know that Neglect is one of the best main tanks. Because Neglect is just Neglect. We all know him.
Yeah.
And
sure. Was the main tank of the Grand Champion Go game Season 0.
Yeah, and he was terrific.
Yeah, he was
Chad, on the other hand, I may agree with you. North cannot uphold the Ryan 1v1 for the life of him. And Neglect is sometimes too cocky for his own good. Those two things do not make those two things don't really make Matt better than them. Like maybe I understand plus I've spoken to Ching-Du before. They really do not like how Matt talks. So I doubt that Chads would pick up him. That's just a personal thing that they wouldn't do. Also, Matt is just he's a personality at least. And
I think generally he can be a good personality, but I can see how it might get grating sometimes.
Yeah, I think I don't really see him starting on a team. I see him more as a very famous, a more known person in the league, and more of I think he would do great as a caster. I just think that would be his calling here. I know he wants to play and stuff, but I just think he would be a great caster. I think that would be really nice. I think he would also be maybe a coach for novice. I really don't know. And a lot of the people I've seen hype up some main tanks, some main tanks I've seen hyped up are Tedison. And I've seen Tedison play, and he is underwhelming at most. He does, it's just a lot of the people praise some people without knowing them, if you get what I mean. It seems like it's just a whole thing where they don't know how they, from a standpoint, Matt might look like a god, but from another standpoint, he might look like he's feeding, or he might look like he's doing something bad. It's all, I guess, situational, people. It's not really a thing you can just take straight to your mind, thinking, A, Matt's good, A, Matt's bad. There's always a in between. There's never a solid, concrete proof that somebody is the best in every regard.
All right, we kind of gotta make sure we get through the rest of these. So we'll go ahead and move on to Easy Clap, who actually did a lot of additions. They added on Endless, Norse Dude, and Khaki. I also believe they said they moved Alizoni to a coach position. I don't know if that means he's a player anymore. It's maybe a player coach, but well, I'm not 100% sure. So.
This is something I want to talk about a lot. Not like a lot. Like I just think these changes.
Don't kill Akari with the editing, okay? That's
okay.
all I'll say.
If let's say that like Easy Clap, they picked up pickups, and I swear to God, the pickups that they got, if they bench any of them, they're kind of stupid. Like, because all those pickups are better than their current roster. I think North Dude is 10 times better than Jason. Kaki is a better break than Spectre by far. Like, I've seen him. He's trying for Hung Xiao. We're gonna pick him up. It's actually a really good projectile. I don't know about the last one, but I can tell you that he is probably better than most of the people on that team. Like, yeah, I forgot if he's a hit scan or something.
Alright, so that's bold words from Agreed. Well, actually, you've been talking a lot, but we're actually about to get to the Hangzhou Bark, who lost Pixels in a transfer to Z9 and picked up Kurt Lebert. So, if you want to talk a little bit about Kurt and, what he plays in... What?
Do you want to talk about both things?
I mean, you can talk about both things if you want. I more wanted to know about Kurt because I just don't know him as much and what you think he'll bring to your team.
Well, okay, I'll just get Pixels out of the way because it's first. Pixels, we weren't playing him at all. I was kind of just being the lone main tank in general, so we just thought we wanted to give him a better place to, improve and play and just have fun. So we moved him to Z9 so he could be in a space where he likes. We wanted him to be our media manager so he could stay with the team, but he didn't want to, so we wanted to give him to another team. So that's why Pixels is cool. Kurt is our Lucio player. He is really good and loose.
So you're saying that Kurt will be your Lucio player from now on, like that's confirmed?
Mostly main roster, yes. He is more passive than little, so it's and he enables me to play a little bit more risky sometimes, because I'm not worrying about my Lucio feeding. So it's just it's just funner, I guess. I really don't know what to say about it.
Alright, awesome. And then finally, the final team is Z9, who got rid of Biz and Michael, and I believe both of them were for inactivity. They got Pixels, like we mentioned before, from Hangzhou Bark, and then they also picked up... Yep, they picked up Melon and Plasma. Melon was on Chad's and Plasma was on Noot, but both of them had fallen to the free agent market, I believe, before Z9 picked them up.
For two drastically different reasons.
Yeah.
Plasma left on good terms, Melon left on pretty bad terms. Melon had to leave Chengdu. It's just the whole thing. Plasma's already leaving. Probably gonna leave Z9 after probably this Saturday.
No. Have you all heard of Plasma's quest? He's on a quest to play for. He's on a quest to play a map for every advanced team.
Yeah, we already told him that he's probably guaranteed a spot if he gets if we ever need to get him in for peer pressure just so Crass can open him in. By the way, Ozzy, if you're listening to this, please, for the love of God, pick up him. He needs to play a map on every team. Come on, Ozzy. So yeah, he has a shirt spot with Hangzhou.
So let's talk for a little bit just for a second about Melon, because obviously, he had to leave Chad's, but I think his overall talent at DPS can't be denied. But, on Chad's, he did play the Zarya role, and Z9 has Reality already, which I think we've also said is a very good Zarya and DPS player overall. So, it's just kind of like, what do you do with all this, I think you could have Melon flex onto the Brig, or Reality flex onto the Brig, because I believe they had Acid playing the Brigida before that. And I think I haven't seen anything super bad about his Brig. I haven't really watched Z9 too much, to be fair, but SR-wise, he's one of the lower players on that roster.
Wait, who?
Acid.
Well, he's not worse than Adbon, so it's fine. Adbon's just a meme now.
So, are we going to talk about the different players that are in free agency that we recommend?
Yeah, for sure. If you all have free agents that you like and you want to shout out, absolutely, this is the time to do so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know exactly what the whole situation was with Zoom, But Zoom from Bot Burgers, when they dropped him, was a real shame. Zoom is one of the only other main tanks who has ever really made me have to not hold W. I've had to play passive against him, and so if any of you novice teams are feeling like you're having problems with double cap, pick that man up. He is my kryptonite.
By the way, King, don't do that. That's not very how you play Ryan.
Yeah, just a quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Just a quick comment on Zoom. Yeah, it was just personal reasons, and we left on the best of terms. Like it, obviously a lot of teams are finding this. It's final season, exam season. Folks getting ready to finish up high school, college, etc.
Yeah, we kind of started a little early.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's sometimes just not the right time for people to be able to devote the time that they want to a team, to play in an organized tournament. So nothing but the best stuff for Zoom.
And it's a lot of things too. And plus, just the free agency pool right now is just so huge that you can find a better person for every single role. But do you really want to do that to your team unless you need it? Let's be honest. We have 3 weeks worth of synergy. Unless they're a toxic player, terrible, and cannot play all the time. It's just not very consistent to drop players randomly just because there's better ones out there. You just make them better. You know what I mean? So I really don't have any free agents for anybody to look for. Because there's nobody really noticeable in general. Maybe No Potato. She's good to Lucio, but that's pretty much it. There's nobody.
Sorry, you finished.
No, you can go. I have nothing to say.
I was going to talk about novice, so.
Yeah, go ahead, Am.
At least down on the novice pool, like you said, it's a very wide pool. But just a couple of folks that I'd like to point out. Conman, fantastic off support, a lot of different flexibility, can even flex onto some of those tank roles like a Ryan or a Diva. Decent ult tracker too. So if one of the other teams has a spot for an off support, check out Conman. And similarly as well, Sir Me, another high SR. This is an off tank player. Flexible over to some of those DPS like the Soldier, the Tracer. Another great guy to ult track, shot call. So yeah, Conman and Sir Me are definitely people who, if we had more spots, but we can only have 12.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for your recommendations and for talking about the free agents as of right now. But we're gonna go ahead and move on. Look towards week 4 and how we all think that week 4 is going to go down. So we'll start off. We'll start off with the advanced division. Yeah, it's only a little awkward because I'm all on my own on Chad's Island while everyone else has picked the Hangzhou Bark to take them down. So.
Oh, I don't think it's going to be that easy. I think it's going to be very even. It's just my bias tells me I want my team to win.
Yeah, I know. Agreed. I can definitely say you have an obvious bias, but if Ham or King want to talk about why they've picked Bark. And then I'm
going to be honest, I'm not too terribly familiar with the advanced. So a lot of my readings are kind of going off of, it's a little more of the statistical side than actual experience watching. So
fair enough.
My apologies to the advanced division.
So you mean Chad's lose to Easy Clap, Hangzhou Bark win against Easy Clap must mean Chad worse than Hangzhou?
Well, I mean, strength of schedule is certainly a decent indicator when you're looking at a lot of teams and you're not terribly familiar with them. So, like I said, my apologies to all our advanced division listeners.
Yeah.
It depends on what they do. They need to make some changes.
Yeah.
At least.
I will say, I personally think, obviously, no offense, you agreed, and maybe you're making a couple moves, and I think Chads are going to be making a couple of moves too. I think that overall, I'm not taking last week's loss too hard on Chads because they were in a tough situation against one of the top 2 teams in advance.
They had Tiddison.
I don't think Tedison's that bad, but go off. And they had to get an emergency sub. They had to flex people to off rolls. I think next week they're going to have more of a plan put together, and I think players like Zera and Toucan and Genie are all people that I'm personally familiar with from Season 0 and know them to be very, very good players.
Well, yeah, but do you know that Zera's not playing Brig, right? He's playing Zarya.
Right. I've known him. He's at least a decent Zarya, in my opinion. Okay. Obviously, you don't agree, and that's okay.
What are you talking about? I'm agreed.
For my thoughts on that one, I think it'll be a really close game, and if I had to predict a score, I would bet it's 3-2.
3-2. That's what I thought. Too.
And the reason that I put Bark is just because I think that their cohesion between the tank line and the supports is super good. Bark is very, very cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say the Chads aren't, but I think Bark will be able to split the Chads.
The thing, I think it's gonna be, I could say the Chads are gonna win, but I just think it's gonna be a 3-2. That's my personal opinion.
Fair enough.
I think the reason I thought I was at 2-2, that's where I thought of the crossword, is where I knew they're going to get 2 points, and I know we're going to get 2 points. That's just my prediction. And then the third point of who wins was just I couldn't really decide. And I just thought to myself, well, I am on home jailbreak, might as well put my team. So I just said 3-2. So I don't think it's definite that my team are obviously going to win. I just think that it's going to be close.
Fair enough. And one more thing to point out before we move on is that I believe the Chads and the Bark are currently completely tied right now, 1-2, and also in map differential. They are 100% tied right now, so it'll be very interesting to see. This is like a battle for 4th place, honestly.
Yeah, but if we win this, it's gonna be really bad for Chads.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they're gonna if they lose to us this week, they're gonna lose next week, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, if they win or lose this week, I think they're gonna lose next week because next week is Z9, and we know how scary Z9 is.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of Z9, we'll go ahead and move on to Z9 versus Crest, and we're actually split down the middle. Myself and KingGenius like Z9 in this matchup, and then Agreed and Ham have Crest. So
I think Z9's gonna win, but I just wanted to give up to Crest, if I'm being dead honest here. Because I like their players more.
Fair enough.
And I feel like they could take it. I feel like it's a possibility.
Fair enough.
It's like Dr. Strange said. It's a 14-1.
Well, I think there's a larger possibility than that Crest wins. I think there's a very, very real chance that Crest wins this. I do, however, have to give it to Z9 at this point. I think that Z9 overall has the higher mechanical skill. And, they've obviously had that core that we've talked about over and over again. But they've also had a lot of time now to integrate other players into their roster. And now that they've been integrated, again, I think this is very close. And I think there's a very, very good chance that Crest takes it. But I think I just have to edge out Z9 here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Z9, that's the scariest team you could ever go against.
Absolutely.
And
honestly, I think the second that Z9 lost that one game against Easy Clap, I think everyone else should. I think that was the worst thing that happened to everyone else because now they've been determined ever since. They've told us they're not losing. They told us they're not losing another game.
If only Easy Clap just kind of threw, that would be nice. But actually haven't gotten this actual domination. Because listen, do you understand? I don't think maybe you two don't understand. Me and Dividing know about New York Locals. New York Locals are a tier 3 team that almost made tier 2. They almost made contenders trials. That is Z9. That is the core of Z9. That is actually so scary to go against because that is an actual tier 3, almost tier 2 team. And they're trying because they do not want to be embarrassed again like they did when they got lost to Easy Clap. They were embarrassed because they lost. And they showed that they're not going to lose again. They have taken 2 4-0s. Granted, one was disqualified. But they've taken 2 4-0s right now. Imagine what's going to happen next week if they do try.
Mm-hmm.
That is scary.
I think Z9 is definitely, in comparison to the novice division, I think Z9 is the double cap of of advanced. Just the first week loss being an absolute push of like, hey, we're not letting this happen anymore.
I'm sorry.
And so we'll go ahead and move on to our final Advanced Division game. Myself, Agreed, and KingGenius are all picking Easy Clap to take this one, and Ham by himself picking Newt. So Ham, if you wanna, I think you said you're not super familiar with the advanced teams, but if you want to talk about your rationale behind that decision.
Sure. And I think this comes down to just in a load of different areas, the fact that when someone's sitting kind of towards the back of a pack, such as in a tournament or even really anything, not only do they tend to be underestimated, but they have a desire to improve versus some of the teams who are closer to the top, who they're constantly fighting to maintain their spot. And also just kind of looking at some of their opponents that Noot's gone against. The Chads, they've gone against Crest, gone against Z9, obviously, the unfortunate forfeit there. But, at least for the 2 matches that they did play, they took a map off of the Chads, which is, up a little bit. So I think there's some magic that could happen. If they know what they need to work on, I think they could make it interesting.
The problem with them is their scheduling, maybe. I think that's also a problem. Because they never scrim. They never scrim.
Yeah, they've had a lot of problems with actually getting people into scrim and into games, as we saw. I have a very simple policy. I will never predict against teams that have never lost, and I will never predict 4 teams that have never won. Noot hasn't won yet.
So it's interesting though that you say that they're having problems with all of the scheduling, but yet they didn't pick up any players.
They have not. They have not yet. Yeah, I can tell you for sure. I can tell you for sure that they're looking.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they did not have things put. Actually, you know what? They did have something put into place, and they actually had little leaks. I actually had Endless lined up, verbally committed to that, but Easy Clap ended up yoinking him at the last second. So it's a bit unfortunate for Newt.
Yeah, it's just gonna be either Easy Clap. The reason I think Easy Clap's gonna take it is their new pickups. North dude, compared to Jason, is like an infant compared to a 30-year-old man. North dude is actually so epic. I haven't even seen him play, but it's heard good things, so I'm guessing he's good. But right. I'm betting he could probably be better than Jason. So we'll see.
All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. Now we have go ahead and go over to the novice division. We're actually all in agreement on this one. Double cap, I believe. Yeah, they're going up against Plat Chats this week. Everyone has double cap taking them. We have myself, Agreed, and KingGenius have all picked Pepega Friends over Bot Burgers, and Ham, of course, as expected. You are the coach of Bot Burgers.
I gotta cheer for the home team.
You gotta pick Bot Burgers. That's respectable.
I think
talk a little bit about why you think you'll be able to take him down.
Obviously,
maybe scare KingGenius a little bit.
Obviously, a lot of what we've been doing with some of these pickups and chatting with some of these players, there's and I was just saying this with Newt. There's a desire. These guys want to improve. They want to show everyone what they're made of and basically punish other teams for not taking us seriously. And I know that we didn't always start the strongest, but we're starting to gain some momentum here. And I think those 4 pickups that we had can definitely help turn the fight in our advantage.
King, do you have any response to that?
Well, I mean, we're not playing them next week.
Wait, I'm such a dumb. Yeah, you should go ahead. Go ahead and put me on Pepega Friends, I guess. Yeah, I don't know why I had in my brain that you were against Bot Burgers this week.
Silly goose.
Yeah,
but
I'm gonna get memed for that. Gosh darn it.
It's also for
Wait, what happened?
Don't worry about it.
He was quoting the wrong team.
Don't worry about it.
But it's also for Pepega's, what would happen if Pepega lost to what just last week was one of the one of the bottom teams?
Pepega, I'd imagine, are feeling pretty good having just taken out
They're feeling the burn. I can sense it through my monitor here, through the Discord interwebs, all that wonderful stuff. We here at Bot Burgers, we have a fire in the kitchen, if you pardon the pun, but no, we're getting ready.
I'm super hopeful that upset happens. I don't think it's likely. but I really would like to see that happen. Additionally, I think not this week, but next week, the game of DCPF is going to be a big let's see who is on top after week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have been on the rise.
For sure. And then for the final game, we have One Trick Wonders versus Rio. Myself, Ham, and King have all picked One Trick Wonders. Agreed has gone with Rio, so go ahead and talk about that. Yeah, I mean, Agreed, you're right. You were on Rio for a little bit in Season 0, but talk a little bit about why you've made your choice.
Because Rio represents, I had no other reason.
Awesome.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Fair. That's fair enough. You're on Rio. You have loyalty to them. That's great. That's great.
Can I point out so I think OTW will win this either 4-0 or 3-1. And the reason for that is the fact that in DC's VOD reviews, we determined that if need be, if our GOATs couldn't beat out Rio, we would go to a multi-deeps comp, which is something that OTW is really, really good at. Mm-hmm. Because Rio, when they were playing against Papega, could not handle it. And so OTW, who is really good at that, is going to absolutely mow through Rio. And I would love to be wrong about that.
Hey, you've just told them what they need to improve on, so hopefully they take
absolutely.
that to heart. Yeah. So, thank you all so very, very much for watching. I had fun hosting this week's episode of The Countdown. I wish everyone the best of luck going into Week 4 and whatever pickups or drops that may come with it.
Whoa!
What? What's up, King?
You said
woo. I thought you said whoa, like you were trying to stop me or something.
No.
So that is going to go ahead and conclude this week's episode of The Countdown. Ham, King, Agreed. Thank you for joining me.
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah, as I was going to say, any last statements?
Use it for Countdown 2019.
No. DC,
I'm open, personally.
Hell yeah, use it for Countdown 2019.
I'm open. I would have invited a Z9 person if they didn't, if their win wasn't a forfeit, honestly.
Oof.
Yeah. I'm happy I came in. I learned the revelation play of the match.
For sure. Ham, anything to say?
Like I said, I think a lot of people here were just looking for great Overwatch, having a good time, making some new friends, and learning a thing or two. So let's keep it up. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't get tilted.